Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us today at this event. I wish to acknowledge that we are standing on the traditional territory of the Anishinaabe and Haudenosaunee, and to acknowledge the neighboring communities of 6 nations of Grand River and Mississauga of the Credit. I would also like to recognize that Ontario is home to many diverse Indigenous peoples, including Métis. My name is Aslam Rana, Member of Parliament for Hamilton Centre. I am very pleased to be here with all of you today as your host. Hamilton is uniquely positioned to play a major role in Canada's economic future. With our strategic connections by rail, sea, and air, our city has the infrastructure and location needed to become a leading logistics and trade hub. We are also home to one of Canada's largest steel producing facilities, with generations of skilled workers helping build the products and infrastructure our country depends on. By building on those strengths, we can create good jobs, attract new investments, strengthen our supply chains, and make Hamilton an even stronger economic engine for Canada. To that end, it's my great pleasure to welcome the Minister of Transport and Leader of the Government in the House of Commons, the Honourable Steven MacKinnon, who will be making an announcement this morning. Steven MacKinnon.
Good morning, everyone. It's great to be in Hamilton. I'm a repeat visitor, and I want to thank my colleagues Karina, JP, Lisa, and Aslam for providing the great welcome that they always do. And thank you to Ron and Her Worship as well for joining us for the announcement today. We have some very, very good news. The fact is that Hamilton's steel industry is of vital strategic national importance, as are the steel producers and steel industries from all over Canada. We will defend this industry to the very end, and we will make sure that this industry not only survives, but thrives and prospers for the people who work in that industry. Now, Hamilton, when you talk steel, with no slag to Sault Ste. Marie or anywhere else, this is the city known for its steel industry, Steel Town, an industry with a long and a proud history, an industry that has helped forge, and yes, I use that pun intentionally, not only a strong local economy, but also the resilient identity of this community. On peut dire sans exagérer que l'acier est l'un des matériaux de construction et d'ingénierie les plus importants au monde. On le retrouve dans presque tous les aspects de notre vie quotidienne. We use steel in countless products every day, in our cars and our homes, in refrigerators and washing machines, in cargo ships, surgical instruments, and indeed in the railways that help and have helped build this amazing country. Steel is also a cornerstone of our economy and of our economic future. It contributes billions of dollars to our GDP, supports supply chains and our infrastructure from coast to coast to coast, while providing more than tens of thousands of jobs for Canadians. A strong steel sector is also essential to our national security, supplying the materials needed for defense equipment and critical energy infrastructure. Now, the world is changing. Our economy is changing, and with it, our steel markets are changing too. But despite new economic challenges, we remain resilient, and I note with great satisfaction that the unemployment rate in Hamilton actually went down in July. But Canadians want to buy Canadian products, and Canadians want their governments to buy Canadian products. Canadian businesses want to use more Canadian materials, and our government wants to support that. Buy Canada, buy Canadian. Last fall, Prime Minister Carney announced plans to make it more affordable to move Canadian steel across the country. So today, I'm very happy to say we're delivering on that commitment. I am announcing today the launch of the Commodities Sectoral Support Program, a $100 million investment that will help reduce the cost of transporting Canadian steel between provinces. Through this program, eligible shippers will receive a 50% rebate on the cost of transporting Canadian steel by rail and marine for up to 1 year, or until available funding is fully allocated. Now, this is excellent news for Canada's steel industry, for our producers, for our steel workers, and for Canadians who rely on steel products every day, and in doing so help strengthen Canada's economy. Donc aujourd'hui, j'annonce le début du programme de soutien au secteur des produits de base, d'une valeur de 100 millions de dollars, qui permettra de réduire de moitié le coût du transport d'acier sur rail et marin entre les provinces, partout au pays pour les producteurs éligibles, et ce, pendant 1 an ou jusqu'à l'épuisement des fonds. Et ces coûts réduits aideront à diminuer les dépenses pour les producteurs comme pour les consommateurs. Ils rendront l'acier canadien plus accessible, plus compétitif et plus abordable partout au pays, contribuant ainsi à créer une économie plus forte. Lower transportation costs will strengthen the competitiveness of Canadian steel in an evolving global economy. And they will support workers, like the ones here in Hamilton and across Canada, who produce some of the highest quality steel in the world. So in closing, I'd like to quote our boss, the Prime Minister, and something he said last fall. He said, quote, "The Canadian steel industry will always be at the heart of Canada's competitiveness, our security, and our strength. These are sectors that are resilient, that reflect our country's character, with a history of reinventing themselves at pivotal moments," unquote. Make no mistake, this is one of those pivotal moments. Canada is moving from reliance to resilience. We are building one Canadian economy, not 13. We are advancing projects of national interest. Nous réalisons des investissements sans précédent dans notre défense et notre sécurité, tout en diversifiant nos relations commerciales. Et ensemble, ces mesures contribueront à rendre le Canada plus fort. Notre industrie sidérurgique a toujours été là pour le Canada. Aujourd'hui, en cette période de changement sans précédent, le Canada sera là pour son industrie sidérurgique, pour nos travailleurs, pour nos entreprises. There's never been a better time to buy Canadian steel. And with this new program, we're making it easier than ever for Canadians to do exactly that. Merci beaucoup. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister MacKinnon, for sharing such a good news in our steel city. Now, I would like to invite Member of Parliament for Hamilton Mountain, MP Lisa Hepfner, to say a few words. Thank you.
Thank you, Aslam, and thank you to Minister MacKinnon. You know, Minister MacKinnon was with me on Hamilton Mountain last night meeting with constituents, and all I heard all night was, thank you, thank you, thank you. I will tell you that Hamilton was among the hardest hit cities in Canada when those unfair tariffs were levied from across the border. And as elected officials, we have spent a lot of time speaking with the stakeholders, many of them who are here today. And I am proud to say that our government has delivered on everything they told us they needed to make this transition to buying Canadian and supplying the Canadian steel market. It's still not going to be an easy transition, but today's announcement is a huge deal. And it's another example of how our government is ensuring that we have generations of Hamilton steel still to come, generations of steel workers still to come. And so, you know, once again, thank you for having me. I'm very proud to be here for this announcement today, and I thank all of my colleagues for all of their hard work and everyone who is here today to celebrate this announcement. And thank you, Steve, once again.
Thank you, MP Hepfner. And now I would like to invite a Member of Parliament for Hamilton West, Dundas, Ancaster, MP John-Paul Danko.
Thank you so much. It's a tremendous honor once again to be here this morning with Minister MacKinnon, my Hamilton colleagues, Lisa Hepfner, Aslam Rana, and from across the bay, Karina Gould, also Mayor Horwath and ArcelorMittal Dofasco, Ron Bedard. Thank you all for joining us here in Hamilton this morning for this really important announcement for the Golden Horseshoe, for Hamilton, and for all of Canada. Minister MacKinnon talked about Hamilton's role as Canada's steel city. It's also Canada's industrial center, and the steel industry branches into so much more industry than just making and producing steel. It's also all of the other associated industries that rely on steel as the backbone of that economic activity in this city, across Ontario, and across the country. It's impossible to ignore, as Minister MacKinnon talked about, the economic impacts of our neighbors to the south and what they're doing. It's impossible to ignore the impacts of tariffs, especially in Hamilton, on the steel industry. But as the Prime Minister has said many times, we can't control what happens in the United States, but we can control how we take control of our own economy here in Canada. And I'm optimistic. I'm optimistic about the future of Hamilton, of industry here in Hamilton, and industry and the economic potential for all of Canada, because all of the fundamentals that went into building the economy here in Hamilton are still there. We have the expertise in industry, and critically, we have the transportation infrastructure that is the reason why industry located here in the first place. The connections to rail, the connections to shipping, and the road network. Also, the airport being the busiest overnight cargo airport in the country. All of those assets that we have as a community are still here, and when I think about how Canada came to be in the first place, connected by rail, the history of rail as a mechanism to unite Canada in the face of threats from the south, exactly where we are today, it seems fitting that an announcement investing in the Canadian economy, investing in rail, and connecting Canada is come full circle. Thank you very much. With that, I'll call Mayor Horwath.
Thanks very much for being here, all of you, to share with us this really great announcement. I want to say I have deep appreciation for Prime Minister Carney, for Minister MacKinnon, and in fact for all of the federal ministers who have been paying a lot of attention to our city, because they know exactly what I almost want to call you Councillor Danko, sorry, what MP Danko said, which is that our city really has been the heartland of industry in Canada for a very long time. And now we are transitioning into being the heartland of Canada's future economy. And that is something that's very exciting for us here in our city, but also to MP Gould, who is here, and of course having MP Rana here, and MP Hepfner from the Hamilton Mountain. It really does show that these partnerships work. So when we work together, we really can make a difference for people. And this is a time when people need governments to step up and say, yes, we can make a difference for all of us. And so being here to hear this announcement, I'm so grateful for the invitation. And I know that our partnerships will remain strong, and that will continue to strengthen Canada's economy as well as Hamilton's economy. So on that note, speaking of Hamilton's economy, I am going to pass the microphone over to Ron Bedard from ArcelorMittal Dofasco. Ron, my friend.
Well, thank you, Mayor. And I just want to acknowledge we've got executives here from the steel industry across the country. We've got fabricators here from across the country, and Hamilton Building Trades represented. It's absolutely been a group effort with the Government of Canada, the Government of Hamilton, the provincial government, and all of our CSPA partners. As a strategic industry that supports Canada's economic growth, infrastructure development, and supply chains, a strong domestic steel sector is essential to Canada's future growth. The actions announced today by Minister MacKinnon and the Government of Canada represent another important step in supporting the Canadian steel sector and growing a robust domestic economy. Those measures will help ensure Canadian steel can move from coast to coast to coast, advancing the Prime Minister's vision to build Canada strong. Greater access to interprovincial markets for Canadian steel helps build the infrastructure that we rely on, supports new housing construction, enables the movement of energy and natural resources, and strengthens our agriculture and food supply chains. The Canadian Steel Producers Association appreciates the federal government's continued engagement with industry and its commitment to finding solutions to protect Canadian jobs and strengthen the domestic steel sector. The measures announced today, alongside the existing measures of enhanced import protections through tariff rate quotas, actions to address unfairly traded steel, and a greater focus on the Canadian steel in federal procurement, will help enhance the resilience and long-term competitiveness of Canada's steel industry. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bedard. It's now time to begin the questions and answer period, not in House of Commons, in here.
Not the House of Commons.
Now, I would like to turn it over to Mary Justine Torres, Press Secretary to Minister MacKinnon, who will moderate the question and answer period. Please go ahead.
Yes. Hello, everyone. So welcome all to this press conference. We will begin the period of questions. You can start when saying your name and the media you represent. We will go with one question, one follow-up. Thank you. Yes.
Hi, Minister. Thank you for taking our questions. Raisa Patel with the Toronto Star. This program that you're announcing today is obviously a response to the ongoing trade dispute with the United States, but the program itself is slated to last up to a year.
Yep.
Should that be read as a signal that maybe a comprehensive deal to address sectoral tariffs won't be reached next week?
Look, obviously, this is a response to these extremely unfair, unjustified tariffs that are obviously the object and the subject of intense negotiations that are going on right now in Washington. I'll leave my colleague Dominic LeBlanc and the Prime Minister to comment on those talks, but suffice to say that my comment at the outset stands. We will stand by this industry. That will take various forms, and today we're announcing a very, very important one, which is access to markets across the country. Has been a significant barrier in the past, and this is a response to that, and we'll evaluate it and adjust as we go.
Okay.
En français, donc évidemment, le domaine de l'acier, le secteur de l'acier, les travailleurs qui s'y rattachent, les chaînes d'approvisionnement et tout sont l'objet d'intenses négociations qui ont lieu aux États-Unis et avec mon collègue Dominique Leblanc, avec le Premier ministre, je leur laisserai commenter l'ensemble de cette œuvre-là. Cela étant dit, nous avons été très très clairs que nous allons appuyer cette industrie. Nous allons appuyer les travailleurs de cette industrie jusqu'au bout. Et la forme que ça prend ce matin, c'est un programme qui va aider à rendre plus compétitif, plus accessible des marchés à travers le Canada pour nos producteurs d'acier, pour les travailleurs de l'acier.
The Prime Minister has said that an expansion of Billy Bishop Airport isn't happening anytime soon. Given that only a single type of plane can make use of that airport and production of those planes is currently suspended, in your view, what is the future of Billy Bishop in the near
production
term?
of the turboprops? Yeah. I'm sorry. Sorry, the end of your question?
Yes. So in your view, what is the future of Billy Bishop in the immediate or near term?
Well, let's be clear. Billy Bishop is a required infrastructure in Toronto. That is a very, very important part of Toronto's transportation networks, and used and appreciated by a lot of travelers, and is a very important complement to Pearson and to other airports like Hamilton. But during the consultation that was held this summer, I think we learned a lot more. My colleagues in the GTA as well very, very much informed the thinking around what's important to Toronto: the harbourfront, the waterfront, and things like parks, beaches, access to amenities along the harbor are incredibly important. So these are the reasons why we put out the statement that we did, and that in the future there's no firm proposal to expand the airport right now, but in the future we would obviously have to see significant assurances for Toronto before even considering moving forward with a proposal that we don't currently have. Yep.
Jeffrey Tram here with CBC News. Could you provide more specifics on how this will benefit the Hamilton economy, whether it's from manufacturers and jobs?
I'm going to let Ron answer that. Sorry for putting you on the spot there, Ron, but I think more generally what I said to the earlier question stands. This makes other Canadian markets, other Canadian projects accessible to our steel industry, and helps them be competitive in those projects. But I know Ron will have a whole bunch of really good on-the-ground examples.
Thank you, and I'm joined by other members of the CSPA today, and one of the things we've undertaken over the last year is to get out across the country and hear from provincial governments on how we may serve those provinces better. And getting steel from Sault Ste. Marie, from Regina, from Hamilton, from Quebec, to each extremity of the country is critically important, and having access to rail, competitive rail rates, will help us serve provinces from East Coast to the West Coast. So we applaud the decision and the implementation of this. I think it's going to help all of us be competitive and, most importantly, serve every province in the country and territory. Thank you.
And in my follow-up, it's reported that Canada is willing to meet with some of the U.S. demands to make some progress on tariffs. The Bloc Québécois and farmers are concerned that dairy import quotas could also be on the table. Is dairy up for negotiation? And what do you say to those who are worried?
Again, I'm not going to be your primary source for trade negotiations. I'm going to let the Prime Minister, in that particular example, the Agriculture Minister and the Prime Minister speak to those things, but I think we've been pretty clear on supply management. Yeah.
Hi, Minister Al Sweeney from CACH here in Hamilton. Just to ask you again, could you explain how this program is going to work and the kind of impact it would have on companies like ArcelorMittal Dofasco?
Thank you. Absolutely. So we have measures in place to ensure, first and foremost, this is in fact that it will be in fact Canadian steel, melted, poured, mill tested Canadian steel, certified by the shippers. Those products then will, once they're shipped by marine mode or by rail, the invoices are submitted to, in this case, Transport Canada, and they'll be eligible for up to for a 50% reimbursement of those transportation expenses.
Any idea on how what the impact will be on other sectors like the auto industry?
Well, look, if the steel is moving interprovincially, we're agnostic as to what the end use is. So I was talking earlier with one of the producers here. Rebar used in construction across Canada. This is a tangible example of how rebar becomes more competitive and accessible to other Canadian markets by virtue of having transportation subsidy. So.
Okay. Could I ask Ron a question?
By all means.
Yeah, sure. We don't get a chance to talk to you very often.
Today's your chance.
In terms of what's going on with the tariffs, the negotiations, we've got this next date coming up. What's the situation at ArcelorMittal Dofasco? How's the company getting along?
I'm here today on behalf of the CSPA. I'll answer first on behalf of the CSPA and all of the members here and the tens of thousands of workers across the country. Without a doubt, the 50% tariffs have had a tremendous impact on our industry. That said, it's a tremendously resilient industry. I'm real proud of every member, every executive, all of the workers. There's tens of thousands of workers who wake up every morning worried about whether they're going to have a job. And we've seen very few layoffs across the country, very few. Prime Minister Carney talked about having a seat at the table. The steel industry today has a seat at the table, and we want to make sure that we're getting utility with that seat and that our voice is heard, and every day our voice is heard. We have access to everybody behind us, the people negotiating on our behalf today in Washington, and the Prime Minister himself. With respect to ArcelorMittal Dofasco, we're no different than any of my colleagues here. Depending on your exposure to the U.S., the 50% tariff can be damning. And so we have, since the day the tariffs announced, focused inward. What is in our control? And there's a tremendous amount in our control. And so we're focusing on domestic markets, being the strongest producer we can domestically, and building our customer base across the country. We're opening up new sales offices on the West Coast and the East Coast, in Quebec, and focusing on the domestic market.
Okay. And you mentioned layoffs. Do you see any layoffs in the future?
I think, again, a lot of it's going to depend on what happens with this round of tariff negotiations in the U.S. Certainly a 50% tariff is billions of dollars across our association. So all of our members here are working very, very diligently with our government representatives, our customers, and our employees to make sure that we're competitive in the face of these tariffs.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Bonjour, Catherine Moras de Radio-Canada. Mes questions sont pour M. MacKinnon. Elles portent sur les négociations commerciales avec les États-Unis, avec un bémol. Pensez-vous que les concessions envisagées par le gouvernement canadien pourraient faire mal à l'économie canadienne et aux travailleurs?
Vous allez me trouver... je ne suis pas le porte-parole pour les négociations commerciales. Je pense que M. Leblanc, M. Carney font un très, très bon travail. Mais nous cherchons à conclure une entente qui vise plus qu'un secteur, qui adresse l'ensemble des enjeux commerciaux. M. Leblanc est à l'œuvre là-dessus. Nous avons eu plusieurs rencontres, mais je ne veux pas être ici pour préjuger la position du Canada ou des États-Unis, ni de la conclusion de ces pourparlers-là.
Enfin, une deuxième question sur le train Alto. Donc, il y a environ 2 semaines, on apprenait que l'Ontario revoyait sa posture sur le projet. C'était plus si clair que ça ou pas, bon, si on soutenait le projet TGV. Est-ce que votre gouvernement a eu des discussions avec le gouvernement de Doug Ford et à quoi ça ressemble?
Nous avons des discussions régulières avec l'ensemble des acteurs, les municipalités, les acteurs du monde agricole ainsi que les gouvernements provinciaux. La collaboration est essentielle à tous ces niveaux et ça va continuer. Mais je me permets d'être clair, là, nous allons de l'avant avec Alto. Nous avons mis en place des dispositions législatives pour permettre d'accélérer. Les gens qui nous écoutent aujourd'hui peuvent savoir exactement quand est-ce qu'on va mettre la pelle dans la terre pour construire cette infrastructure essentielle à l'avenir du Canada et à la qualité de vie des Canadiens. Et je tiens à rajouter, pour peut-être un peu faire le pont avec l'annonce d'aujourd'hui, ça va utiliser de l'acier canadien. Et c'est une utilisation pertinente, évidemment, pour diversifier, comme M. Bedard vient de le dire, là, pour diversifier les marchés potentiels pour l'acier canadien.
Could I do one last question for Rob Bedard?
Sure.
About today's announcement, could you give us an idea of how big of a deal is it for a producer to have up to 50% reduction on transportation of steel? How much can that be?
Firstly, I want to thank you for not asking me in French. I'm the only person in my family that can't speak French, so thank you. I think that's yet to be determined. The impact is going to be tremendous. The value of that impact, when I heard the minister talk about $100 million, we will use all of that $100 million. And it will help every province. Again, my colleagues are here from across the association, from the building trades, from the fabricators. There are projects going on in every single corner of this country. And they'll now have lower cost access to Canadian steel produced across this country from workers across the country. So I think it'll have tremendous impact. We've worked closely with the minister. His door is always open. He answers my texts 24 hours a day. We've worked closely with the minister on this package because it will be absolutely impactful for all of our team here and the tens of thousands of teammates across the country. And thanks again for not asking me in French.
Good morning, Andrew Balcom from the Hamilton Spectator. Question for the minister. Given the amount of existing rail congestion in Canada, what specific service level agreements do you have with railways to ensure like a sudden influx of domestic steel is not going to cause bottlenecks in supply chains domestically?
Yeah, I would love that. I would love to see a whole bunch of Canadian steel. That would be a good problem to have, a problem nonetheless. But having a clogged network filled with Canadian steel and the products that we make here is a nice thought, even though it would be an issue to solve. Look, supply chains generally are a key focus for this government and will be a key focus in the upcoming session of the House of Commons. MPs will have the opportunity to debate a series of measures that will make Canadian transportation networks more efficient, more easy to build, and where workers can count on getting good collective agreements and see their future in that sector. We consulted extensively, of course, with the railways, with the marine sector. We don't anticipate a lot of problems. These are pretty efficient operators. But once again, I would actually kind of be semi-happy to see a whole bunch of Canadian steel waiting to be shipped to markets across the country. Yeah.
Just one more, and thank you so much. If the funding were to expire prior to summer of 2027, what would happen at that juncture?
Well, look, as I said, I think in answer to an earlier question, we'll adjust as we go along. This is a lot of money, and we'll see how the take-up goes. But supporting the steel sector in one form or another will be something that we will continue to evaluate and continue to adjust as we go along. So we'll see how this works out. We're ready to go though today. Yep.
Thank you.
So Ron, get those shipments ready, and everyone here, get the rail cars and let's clog this network. Yeah.
Thank you, Minister. And once again, I'm thankful to our colleague, Karina Gould. She joined us today. And with that, thank you very much, everyone coming in here. And that will conclude our today's meeting. Thank you. Thank you.